First of all, we hear people say they want intimacy, but what does that actually mean? Is it physical, emotional, mental? Why do some couples feel deeply connected while others slowly become strangers despite loving each other? This episode explores what intimacy really is, why it matters, and how to intentionally cultivate it. You already know I've got the Boss Bae panel here, and they are just as excited as I am for this conversation. So run and get your snack while the theme song plays. It's time for Modern Day Bae.
Nah, but for real though, check me out though. Hold on, check me out. Well, it's the MDB, and that's the queendom for me. And if we all up in the queendom, it's about 11 p.m. Eastern time, where you find a whole lot of them dimes on the app. Spark the L and sit back, hit different with 30 rap. Modern Day Bae is like that. Boss Bae, panda, where you at? Your boy needs some advice with a little bit of laughs. Ella drugs, speak the truth, it don't be lie, no cap. Every Tuesday, I be waiting on that feature. Bright purple ribbon, clicking in it, they be preaching. Ella drugs, speak the truth, it don't be lie, no cap. Ella drugs, speak the truth, it don't be lie, no cap. Ella drugs, speak the truth, it don't be lie, no cap. Ella drugs, speak the truth, it don't be lie, no cap. Daddy.
Welcome to Modern Day Bae, the only live stream podcast exploring self-love and healthy modern day relationships. My name is Elle, the drug, and we record and release new episodes every Tuesday. So make sure you tap into the live recording at 8 p.m. Eastern time on TikTok and listen to the latest episode wherever you watch or listen to your podcast. And while you're listening or watching, make sure you are staying connected with us by liking, subscribing, sharing, and make sure you're following us on Instagram at Modern Day Bae Podcast. All right, you guys, I'm really excited for tonight's topic because this is something that we've kind of skated around on the show before, but we haven't actually dived into it as a topic. And I'm really excited to do that with tonight's Boss Bae panel. So let's get into it. All right. We know that the strongest relationships aren't ones that never struggle, right? They're the ones where two people keep choosing to nurture and connect. Think about a garden. You don't plant a seed and expect flowers tomorrow. You water it. You protect it. You pull weeds. You give it sunlight. And over time, what was once fragile becomes something beautiful. And intimacy works that same way. It's not just passion. It's not just attraction. It's not just sex. Intimacy is the closeness that grows when two people consistently make each other feel seen, safe, understood, and valued. Tonight, we're talking about cultivating intimacy, what it is, why it matters, how we grow it, and what we have to be intentional about if we want it to flourish. When we get back, the Boss Bae panel will be right here. Stay tuned. All right, everyone. We are back with the Boss Bae panel. They are in the building. Yeah. On the first box, we have the new Dangerous. Not the old one. The new one.
What's happening? We in here.
Period. And in box number 2, we have the one and only, the Blue Professor's here. Yeah, that's my twin. And of course, next to him, we have the beautiful Miss Sassy Red is in the building, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, y'all, what's up? How y'all feeling?
Feeling good, feeling great.
I might spoil it. You already know.
Yeah, y'all melanin's popping. Y'all looking great. Okay, we love to see it. The energy is here. Okay.
Yeah. Let's get
to it. So we talking about intimacy tonight. I'm excited to explore this. Not twin rubbing, you're doing the Birdman rub.
Yeah. Look, that man boarding the plane. He said, "I'm leaving it all on the floor tonight."
Right. He said Vegas and intimacy in 1 week. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Why you so
excited? What happens
excited?
in Vegas stays in Vegas. Don't forget.
No, what happens in Vegas definitely don't stay in Vegas.
Look, I don't know what to say. You know how many people finna be there? Them loudmouth people. Look.
Ooh. The T-page is gonna be on fire. I can't wait.
Why are you so excited to talk about intimacy, twin?
It's a cornerstone. Intimacy is like the thing that really draws you to somebody else. And it's not just even just a relationship. It's like, well, it's all relationships really. It's not even just that romantic relationships. It's that friendship that you have, and you have those intimate moments with them. I'm excited to talk about all the different aspects that goes into evolving those things and growing them.
I like that. Y'all feel the same way?
I mean, he nailed it. No notes, brother. No notes.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, to Twin's point, there is something very, very important about intimacy. In fact, you called it a cornerstone, Twin, earlier, which I think is a really great word for this term. But why is intimacy so important? Not just in like your romantic relationships, but in those relationships where there needs to be a connection. What is it about intimacy that drives that connection, and why is that so important?
I think everything plays its part. So, like, if someone says to me they love me, I know they care about me. But when you think about intimacy, it's the I know you. It's that deep connection that you have with someone. It's where you are intently sharing yourself with that person, and you're having your vulnerable moments with them. You're being your best version of yourself and being as vulnerable as possible, and they still care about you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really good point. And I think that a lot of people feel that way. What about you two? Do you guys feel the same way? Why do you feel that intimacy is so important in a relationship?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I think intimacy matters in connections generally, because so there's like the foundation, there's the bedrock, right? And I think that it's such an important ingredient because people need to feel intimacy across multiple planes, right? Like you got to feel it physically, you got to feel it emotionally, you got to feel it psychologically, you got to feel it spiritually, really to be able to secure the connection, right? A connection without intimacy is just two people spending time together, which is cool, right? In a narrow sense. But when you're actually building like a long-term partnership, the intimacy is what really drives it beyond just sort of the window dressing that, brings you to a table. So.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing that drives it, and the thing for me that I come to, is it drives that safety. There's that ability when you're able to be intimate with someone, when you're able to be vulnerable with someone, you're able to take off that outer layer and truly just be yourself without fear of judgment, without wondering if you're going to be accepted, without wondering if you belong. And that's something that makes human connection worth everything, is feeling like you belong. And so whenever and you don't get that everywhere, it's intimate, right? So you can't get that everywhere. So whenever you do find it, it is very special, and it feels very special. I love that. What about you, Sassy? What you thinking down there?
I think for some people, you may get a glimpse of it. Some people probably just aren't there. You know what I mean? I don't think for everybody it's a priority that, they have intimacy. They feel as though, some people may confuse it. Like, it's like just people may think like it's just a sense of closeness. You know what I'm saying? To where it's like, okay, well, we're intimate, or people may feel like it's, sexual, to that extent. Or, you know what I mean? It just really feels like however people may look at it, they may look at it as though that is intimacy, but I don't think it's like a conversation that people are having a lot of the times.
What do you mean, like about intimacy in general, or what it means to them, or what do you mean, like what conversation?
Yeah, because I feel like at one point you can be with somebody and you feel as though like, okay, they provide safety to me. When we communicate, I feel like we have a sense of closeness. But until, like he said, there's so many layers to it. You may see it only physically, but not get the emotional part of it. If that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, you can do all the things to where you're cuddling me, we're hugging, we're doing all those things. And for that's your level of intimacy. Whereas in order to fill my cup, I need you to be vulnerable. I need you to be, supportive. And, some people may not receive that.
And that's a really good point. So wait, do you guys think that someone is, I know Danger's going to say two things can be true at once. Oh, I know. I know. But do you think that people can truly be intimate or have that type of connection if they only know intimacy on one of those levels?
I think they can have intimate moments.
Mm.
You can always share a moment with somebody. There's moments in time where things exist, but it's that continuation of learning the different levels, getting beyond just the surface level to really connect with the person for you to have true intimacy overall.
Yeah, I mean, so the answer is right. Multiple things can absolutely like be true, right? I think Blue is right in that intimacy can exist in moments, and intimacy can exist as a defining feature of a connection, right? Like I am more than capable of having really intimate moments with people, walking away from that moment and never having a similar moment with that person again,
Right.
because that's just what the moment called for, right? That's who we were to each other in that particular moment. And there are also relationships and connections where intimacy is a defining feature of that connection, right? Like you and that person share this connection in this very specific way. And, to Sassy's point, I think sometimes what does happen is that people's understandings of intimacy are different and they get mismatched and misaligned, and it creates conflict, right? Because
Mhm.
one person understands intimacy to look a very specific and particular way, and the other person experiences, desires, wants, and sort of sees it in a very different, in another light, right? And so, but I think it's really easy to have both intimate moments and relationships by which intimacy is like one of the core features of it.
So that kind of takes me back to the beginning question, right? I mean, we called it a cornerstone. We said that it was important. If it's not important on every level, what level is it most important on? I guess that would depend on the person.
I think overall, again, it's a building block. Like it's that cornerstone. It's holding up the relationships that you have, whether it's a moment or it's that continuous level that you have. It allows for you to connect with human beings in some way, shape, or form, in some fashion. It could be financial, it could be emotional, it could be physical, it could be whatever it is. Those moments have to happen for us to feel like we are, I don't know, like human to a degree.
Yeah, but I don't want to get a moment in common confused with an intimate moment. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of things that we all have in common with everyone, right? But that doesn't mean that you've had an intimate moment. Like, no, we both live on the same street. We're like, you know what I mean? That doesn't mean that we're entangled. We have this like, we've shared this intimate moment. We just have things in common.
And I feel like it would get to that level if you get beyond the surface level. Right now, everything that you're mentioning is like complete surface level of things that you might attribute to having connections with other people in some way, shape, or form. You lived on this street. Oh, I lived on that street. But then when you get to say, hey, I had like one of my first like major memories that happened on this. Wow, me too. And you start getting deeper and deeper into it. Now you're starting to get towards an intimate moment. At the beginning of that, you're not really doing anything with that person because you don't trust or you don't have that security in that person. But as you dive into it and you feel closeness to this person, you will get beyond that surface level.
And I think that's what makes the difference, right? Like I said, because there's so many layers to it, people could only see it for what they know it to be. You know what I mean? For you, you're saying like, just us having a connection is not intimacy to you. I'm like, but it is a part of an emotional, intimacy. So it's like for some people, it's like, okay, well, you're opening up to tell me about your experience, what you've gone through. I'm like, that is intimacy, a sense of closeness. You know what I mean? You open up to this person to tell them some parts of you, and for them, it's like, okay, well, I may not have gotten that in my last relationship or my last friendship or whatever that case, whatever the case may be. But I'm like, I feel like it's still also that one part where others may feel like, okay, I need deeper intimacy or I need more of a romantic intimacy. You know what I mean? It's like it's certain parts of it that person may receive that in other areas of intimacy you may just not be getting. You know what I mean? The romantic side of it, the physical part of intimacy, but it's like, okay, I need to feel, a lot of people talk about they don't feel safe in some of these relationships. That's a part of intimacy. So if I'm not feeling a sense of empathy or understanding or anything like that, it's like, okay, well, you're not meeting me on that type of intimacy that I would want, or that, I know I can truly benefit from.
I think that, one, like, intimacy is a feature of a connection, to me feels like it is a function of a series of intimate moments, right? Like, you don't just like wake up one day and decide this is the relationship and connection in which I want to be intimate in an emotional way, right? Like, it doesn't happen like that. It's a, like, you have these moments that kind of build to a place where, oh, now this is just who we are to each other and what we do, right? Like, this is the space where we do that. And I think it's also predicated, like, I think it's really hard to have a space that is intimate with a person, and that's across, cross cuts whatever version of intimacy you're talking about, without some sense of feeling of understanding of safety, right? I think you have to feel safe with a person in order to establish intimacy as a feature. You can have an intimate moment with a person and not necessarily be as safe, but in order to be truly invested in this intimacy as a feature of who we are to each other, I think you need safety for that to happen.
I think so too. And I think that you're right. Like, it isn't just this. When we talk about cultivating intimacy, there's effort and intention that has to go into that. There are certain things you have to do, and creating that safety is a huge piece of that. Both by being and accepting the vulnerability from yourself and your partner. And I think that we see it start to get built over time. We know that that's how it gets built, as we're just talking about it now. But what I want to talk about, like, what are those actual actions? What things do you actually focus on to build intimacy? Because, to y'all's point, you can have an intimate moment. You can have a series of intimate moments that create intimacy. But if that doesn't come naturally and you're not cultivating it, those moments won't come. So how do we actually be intentional about making sure that we are creating that safety and that intimacy in our relationships?
I think it's more so about what your partner needs when it comes down to intimacy. Because, like I said, some people may only know like one way of intimacy. Some people look at it like, okay, well, we got to get freaky. So they think, you know what I mean?
true.
Like, that is, you know what I mean? To them, you can say the word intimacy, but to them, it's let's get freaky, let's get sensual. So you thinking, okay, romance is included. You know what I mean? But that's what I'm saying. Like, some people don't have the conversation. So you tend to think, okay, well, let me zhuzh it up. Let me make sure that the chemistry is right. Let me make sure that there's some type of attraction going on, making sure I look and I smell good. But if you're not having the conversation, at least with your partner, to be like, okay, that's cool, when it comes down to, that area. But in order for me to feel a sense of intimacy with you, I want us to have deeper conversations. You know what I mean? I want to get to know you on a deeper level. And that's when you put in the work, if that's your intimacy level, like, that's what you need to be expressing to your partner, that's what you want and need.
I feel like after this conversation, you know how they have like the love languages? I feel like we need to explore intimacy. Like, what type of intimacy do you like? Right? Like, beyond the love languages, like putting some time, we're going to work on that, putting some sort of like test together to see which type of intimacy you best cultivate or you best benefit from. Because I think that that's a key topic in this conversation.
For me, what has tended to sort of cultivate intimate spaces with people is showing up for them in a way that allows them to sort of set the burdens down, right? I think that what very often happens when people do not feel safe in a space is that they are concerned about being judged for who they are as their softer, most vulnerable self, or sort of being accustomed to people rejecting it. And there are like some really basic things you can do to do that. Like, ask open-ended questions, right? Lead with curiosity, and actively seek to understand before you assess and analyze, right? And it took me a very long time personally to get to a place where I learned how to do that. Because, I think the easiest thing, most of us, right? We are looking for the opportunity to pass judgment, right? We are asking questions
Yeah.
because we are actively seeking to analyze the response to determine, like, oh, this ain't gonna, no, there's something wrong with you. I can't deal with you. I can't deal with that. You're crazy. As opposed to saying, okay, how do I get a better understanding of why this person is showing up the way that they are? Like, what about their story got them to the place where the person that's in front of me is who they are, right? And curiosity, open-ended questions, like really being engaged in the conversation, mirroring, reflecting, like really driving conversation in healthy ways, builds that emotional intimacy, which also informs physical intimacy, right? I think it's important to draw the distinction between physical as the act, like the performance of the physical connection, and the power of the emotional, intimate connection as sort of like the fuel for the physical, right? Like some folks need the emotional intimacy to drive the physical. They can be physical with you, but it's a whole different experience when they feel safe.
Yeah.
You see a very different version of them as a function of that.
I'm almost to a degree going to give a second to that, and just add on the aspect that I feel like creating intimacy and cultivating it doesn't start when you're in the relationship. I think it starts beforehand. Learning to listen to your friends, learning from the experiences that you have with your friends. Some of this is intentional, unintentional, right? Like, I enjoy cooking, and I want to share that with a partner. So I bring that partner into that moment. So I've been doing that already. Being intentional and unintentional about it is the intentional part is asking them to come enjoy it with me. The unintentional part is I'm doing something that I just enjoy and I want to share it with them. And that's not a thought I have to say I'm going to create this. But I think the big part for a lot of people where it gets lost sometimes is like, when you lose that desire for that person, when that desire goes away for that person, all of a sudden that's where the cultivation stops. That's where the learning stops. That's where the growing stops for the intimacy between two people.
But see, I feel like if it doesn't just stop, just like it's not just built. Like those are daily choices that you're not making to, you know what I mean, to keep that to keep that going. There's a lack of intention. There's a lack of attention. There's a lack of that will that Dangerous was talking about to understand, and to that curiosity to truly know and understand versus to be nebby and judge, which, by the way, a huge difference between curiosity and being nosy. Okay, a lot of y'all be nosy.
Ooh, baby, one more.
A lot of y'all be up in the business.
Jeez.
Okay, I'm just saying, but there's a big difference.
You
but
just want the information.
yeah, like you're judging, right? But whenever you actually check your heart, your internal, and we always go back to this about how that's why self-love is so important. You have to treat yourself right, so you know how to even handle those situations and create those moments with the people that you choose to have in your life. I will say really quickly,
City boys for life. Don't do that.
City boys for life.
All day.
I thought we wasn't cussing on the show.
City boys for life.
Huh?
City boys for life.
You making Sassy's ass itch.
And she better get intimate with some ointment. Period.
Intimate with some ointment is crazy.
Yeah.
Intimate with some ointment. Speaking of ointment,
my God.
Hey, yo.
look,
Speaking of some ointment, whoa.
look, right?
Wild segue.
Where you going with that?
Get intimate.
Yeah, you
Speaking
want
of
to
ointment.
get intimate with the next part of that conversation, because what?
I was
What,
gonna
Billy?
say repair after conflict.
Hey, yo. All right. Time out. Flag on the play. Illegal motion in the backfield. Flagrant.
Yeah, that's a wild segue.
Two
Put that
shots
shit in the bloopers.
2 shots in possession. Because what?
Like, it was dangerous fault with that damn ointment.
Right.
No, it was her. Actually, she
Speaking
was
of
the
lubing it
problem. Y'all are so intimate. She knows what makes your ass itch. So that's really not on me. Like that ain't.
If y'all don't know that, that means y'all ain't been at the Weekly Fix enough. Okay, period. Make sure y'all tap in Fridays at 8 for the Weekly Fix with me and
I just
Sassy.
block out anything that Sassy says that makes that talking about her ass itching. I don't want to think about itchy booty.
Okay, get
Itchy
it together.
booty.
Get it together.
That sounds so different. Itchy booty from ass itch. Like that just sounds so different.
It sounds yeah. Because
Okay.
One sounds way
one's
worse.
yeah.
But no, but repair after conflict, though, that is one of those things for me that I didn't understand the value of it and how important that was. You know, there's so many times we've talked about this. I think a couple weeks ago we talked about the micro turning into the macro, right? And how those little things can turn into something that feels so much heavier and can cause resentment and bitterness. And I think that whenever we get used to sweeping things under the rug or not talking about like something that affected us, or just even if we talked about it, if there wasn't a plan of repair, because sometimes talking about something that happens, like it's great that we talked about it, but sometimes there needs to be repair there as well. And so whenever we skip over that repair after conflict, it can take away. I mean, I think pretty clearly you can see how it would take away from someone feeling safe, someone feeling like they can open up, like they can be vulnerable without judgment. And that's one of the big things that I had to learn that was really important to me, was actually being able to repair that so that doesn't fester or harbor.
And I think rupture and repair is a feature of intimacy, right? Like the ability to be able to do that is informed by the intimacy of the connection, right? Like if you've got intimacy as a core like feature of what you have built with a person, the rupture and repair process is so important to that connection, right? Like like it feeds that, right? If I feel safe with you, if I feel secure, if I feel comfortable, and we built this intimacy, when we are in conflict, we can manage and navigate that conflict, recognize that rupture will happen, right? Because rupture and repair is a coping skill, right? Like the ability to break and rebuild things is a coping skill, right? And intimacy creates a space where it is safe to work through those things, to try techniques, to learn new ways to communicate and engage, to be able to show up to your partner and say, hey, look, or your friend or whoever, and say, hey, look, I know what you said. This is how it landed, and this is where the feeling it put me into, right? Or, hey, look, you caused harm, or I caused harm. We need to talk about who we're going to be to each other next after this, and what we can do together, right, to really rebuild the piece of this relationship that was most impacted by that choice, by that action, by that statement, whatever. And that is a practice, right? And when you've built the intimate connection and you value it, there is a likelihood that you'll be more willing to stay in the thing, right? Whatever it may be, because the easiest thing to do is walk away from something where the intimacy and the connection isn't as strong, or where you don't value it the same way. You're like, I didn't toss this. First sign of conflict, I'm out. Right? But intimacy almost demands that kind of presence. It makes you feel compelled to say, okay, we've got something real here. I'm deeply connected to you. Something went wrong. How do we fix it? And the conversations aren't always easy. The conversations can be thorny. They can be tough, right? They can be really emotional and also very necessary, right? And when you rupture and repair, guess what happens? You get more intimacy. You go from one flower to two, from 2 flowers to a flower bush.
Yeah.
Right. From a flower bush to a full-on garden. Right. Like all of these things can happen. When you've built the intimacy and you take those active steps to preserve it through the rupture and repair process, and actually know that rupture and repair is a natural part of the connection.
And just to maybe add on a little bit more to it, it's the idea that sometimes when we think that we have an intimacy problem, it's not the core thing that we actually think it is. It's actually something completely different. Like when people think they have like a sexual problem and intimacy, and it ends up being really more like you're just not having fun with that person anymore. And that's why that person is lacking on wanting to give you more. or you've been providing and financially, but you've been lacking emotionally.
That's what it
Yes.
is. You know what I'm saying? I think there's so many times to where people talk about X, you know what I mean? To where it being a big part of the relationship. But it's like, depending on who you're dealing with, you forget about the emotional aspect of it. You know what I mean? It's like if you can be in a space to where it's like, okay, I love you. I can provide romance. I can provide, giving you attention that you need. I'm like, and that's great. Like, Blue is saying, like, that's the surface level part of it. But
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
if that doesn't fill my cup, if you're not in a space of wanting to provide empathy to me and providing understanding, right? Like if the trust is broken, I'm like, yeah, you can still have that conversation to be like, okay, but let me get it right. Let me sit down. Let me, understand like where you're coming from. So that way you can feel safe. So that way, what I'm saying, this person is showing you that they do have a sense of compassion for you. And I'm like, with that and you putting in that work, that then leads to the physical intimacy to where it's like, okay, well, now we've talked it out. You've provided, a safe space for me. I'm feeling good. Now let me touch you. Let me kiss you. Let me rub you. Like those things can lead into that. So if you're
Yes.
providing that emotional intimacy, it can then lead to that physical. But
Yep.
that's what I'm saying. It depends on who you're dealing with, to where it's like if you just only know the physical intimacy, but you're not filling my cup when it comes down to emotional, it might not lead to that, you know what I'm saying? To the intimacy that you want, which is the physical.
Right.
Right.
And I want to be clear, like I think that for me personally, I think that an emotional intimate relationship is far more, you don't need, we often refer to like a physical connection as being intimate just because of the nature of that connection. But that is, you
Yeah.
can actually, in fact, a lot of people operate without having intimacy and being physical. You can absolutely do that. People do that regularly. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna point any specific gender out, but they be doing stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? No, seriously.
We
No,
looking to pause.
I'm just kidding. I'm not picking on the men. I'm not picking on the men tonight. No, but truly, like that is something, especially in today's day and age. Everybody's walking around jaded and shit. So like we see that happen a lot. We see people not being able to be intimate internally, right? Like be honest and accountable and hold themselves up to the standard that they want to be. So, in turn, they're not able to do that in those relationships. So, physical intimacy is a thing. It is a thing that's important, but I don't think physical intimacy exists without emotional intimacy. I don't, because I think that otherwise, I mean, without the emotional piece of it, that is what is intimate to me. So without that piece of it, it's just fucking.
I mean, there are
You
some folks
remember
who would vehemently disagree with that. You
you
know what
you
I
You
mean?
remember
Like,
what?
earlier when I
oh,
was talking. Listen, you remember earlier when I was talking about intimate moments. That's one of those moments.
I don't think that's an intimate moment. I think that's a shared moment. I
you
meant
think
that.
it's just straight again? Yeah, you think they just doing it, right? It's the physical act of copulation versus like the true like, oh yeah, we really get into this. Like this is something different, right? And when there's when it's actual intimacy because it just feels different, right? We all adults in here. You know when there's something else happening in the moment that isn't just like the physical act, right?
Yeah.
Because it boil it down to what it is, like it's for reproductive purposes, right? Like that is the whole point of the act is reproduction, like to make new versions of ourselves, to put out into the world. But the beauty of being like human and our higher level of function is that it can mean something else, right? Because there is a psychological component to it that that can influence what happens, right? I mean, they even using it like there are ED drugs now, right? Where they like, oh, we actually adding a component of this that focuses on your mental state, because if you are not psychologically engaged in the process, it can impact your performance, right? Like
Yeah.
if you're not present in the moment, it can impact your performance. Like you're not gonna get the same thing out of it. Yeah, shout out to Cass. So I think that I think L is 100% right. Like you can, and there's a whole industry built around not being emotionally connected, and the physical act of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think I don't even think that there's an argument really against it, right? Like people are absolutely doing the do without giving a good goddamn about who the person is that they're doing it with.
For
Total
sure.
strangers. So
So if we're thinking about the different levels or different avenues intimacy can take, different forms it can take, do you think there's a difference in the way that men generally see intimacy versus the way that women generally see intimacy?
I think in general, it is I think it's an upbringing aspect. I think there is some truth to the fact that men feel a certain way around intimacy because of the upbringing that they have and how it's shared to them. And I think women experience it differently than we do. So their idea of what intimacy is goes a little bit deeper for them. I think those things can be true. But I also think that in this conversation, I believe it was Dangerous who brought up the 8 different levels that there are associated with it, and I also believe that I mentioned it as a cornerstone in that it goes beyond just being your relationships with a significant other. It goes into like your friends and other places. So I believe that there are men who have had deeper conversations. Now, where I will give credit to, and that is I have a lot of female friends. And that's why my level of understanding around what intimacy is might be a little bit higher.
I think that the expectations around what men's emotional selves looks like can be so constrained that I think that men misunderstand what intimacy can be, and they don't know how to engage with their intimate emotional selves in healthy ways, right? And I think the right partner for a man can unlock that version of you. Like all of us as men want the woman where we feel like we can set our burdens down too,
Yeah.
right? Where we can lay down you want to be able to take the armor off, right? And be able to come home and say, I can set all of this down and be the most vulnerable version of myself, right? And I think all men desire that, even if they don't have the language to articulate what that looks like. They want to feel that. And we don't always know how to articulate that, right? Some of it is nature, some of it is nurture, some of it is just circumstance. But I don't think we see it differently. I think we just are conditioned to experience it differently.
I think so too. When you say that, I'm reminded of the conversation we had not too long ago. I can't remember exactly what episode it was, but we were talking about how men look to the relationship generally to take everything off, whereas women come to have everything put on, let's like be built up. And that's kind of what crossed my mind whenever I thought about this question in terms of intimacy, because it does seem like there are different circumstances that make the person willing to be intimate or to have those intimate moments. I guess the different things that make us feel safe. So whereas men need to come in and have that place where I'm always on in the world and I need to not be on in my home. And women are like, okay, well, I'm always on in the home and I need to be on out there, right? So that's kind of my thought process. So I'm glad that you said that and mentioned that, because that's exactly where I was at whenever I was thinking about just the different ways that we interpret it and how that interpretation would affect our willingness to be intimate.
And I think that's where the conflict is, right? Is that sometimes we aren't having that conversation in the context of the partnership, right? And I think sometimes what happens is that like the greatest source of conflict between people is mismatched expectations, right? And when you aren't having the conversations you need to have, and everybody's walking into the room with a set of expectations that they believe reflect like what the nature of the relationship should be, right? Like I just expect this from somebody without ever articulating it or having the conversation around what it looks like, which is why it's so important that when you are thinking about a relationship with people, you co-create it, right? Like you don't just walk into it and say, this is what I always did and this is what's going to work here. Well, actually, no. Like I'm a different person with different buckets and different aspects and nature and facets to me in my life that have to be considered in building the relationship. And that's also how intimacy works too, right? Like actively talking about what your relationship is and also what it ain't. Because sometimes what the relationship ain't matters just as much as what it is, right? And the spaces that you share and the ones that you don't, and being aligned around what that looks like. And alignment leads to intimacy, right? Like, oh yeah, we are on one accord and this feels good because I know exactly what I'm gonna get, right? I feel safe because I know what to expect because we talked about it, we engaged with it, we pushed and pulled, we determined that this is who we are to each other and this is who we ain't to each other. So I don't ever misapprehend, misunderstand, or feel, or get things misconstrued about what this is.
And in that, I kind of got curious because I wanted to know, because I know he was saying he has 8, but I'm like, I looked into it to where I'm like, I at least found 5, to where it's saying you have emotional intimacy, you have physical intimacy, you have romantic intimacy, you have relational qualities, and deeper concepts. I think that's the thing. It's like if you, not to be on no gender wars type stuff, but I think when it comes down to like you know what I mean? Like, because guys are, constantly saying women are emotional, so on and so forth. But my thing is, if you know that, then I would think, and you feel as though intimacy is important, if she's telling you, well, at least under that, when it comes down to emotional intimacy, that looks like trust, that looks like connection, that looks like honesty, openness, acceptance, to where for some guys, I'm gonna say some guys, their thought process is so hung up on the physical intimacy,
Right.
which looks like that warmth, that tenderness, that passion, that desire, that kissing, hugging. You know what I mean? And but then at the same time, I also think when it comes down to some guys, it's about loyalty. Because I'm like, people have constantly spoke about that. That's what you want in your relationship. You want respect, you want communication, you want security, which is relational. So I think if the conversations were more had to where it's like, okay, well, if you're providing that emotional intimacy to be more empathetic, to understand where I'm coming from. For some women, it might be like that's your gateway to get to that kissing and hugging and sucking and licking. You know what I mean? To those things.
My God.
I'm just saying, if that's what you're saying you're wanting, and then from a woman's aspect, if she's feeling like I need you to pour into my emotional cup, I'm like, tend to these needs. You know what I mean? That's why they have these love languages to where they're like, okay, well, if you provide an acts of service for me, you know what I mean? That's not even something to where, you're doing anything physically intimate, but it's like, okay, well, that fills my cup.
Yeah.
Where it's like, that's the type of stuff I like that'll get you to that ooh-wee that you want. So it's like, if you have like this, you know what I'm saying? If you look at relationships to be like that give and take, I'm trying to be clean without being, you know what I'm saying? That ooh-wee, you know what I'm saying? Without being dirty.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah. I'm trying to tell you certain things be that ooh-wee.
I
You know what I'm
thought
saying?
Charlie
For you to
Wilson
open
was
my
here.
door, for you to open my door, for you to do those courteous things, like those get my spidey senses tingling. Those get my mental panties wet. Like, you know what I mean? If that's where you trying to go with it, show up in the way I need you to show up.
Now I can't get out of my head the image of draws on Sassy's brain.
All
Like, I
right.
cannot,
Well,
like
get
wet,
these mental panties wet then.
wet brain draws is crazy.
So interesting perspective, right? And I was thinking about this. If I was sitting down at a date and I said to a woman, so, what part of intimacy is important to you? The first thing that pops in that woman's head is to be offended. Not to explain the important pieces to her, but to be offended by the aspect of me asking that question. Because she assumes that it's going to be sexual from the question that I'm asking, even though I'm not mentioning anything around that.
That is the perfect opportunity for, as the leader, as the man, as the opportunity to teach your girl something. Baby, I'm not talking about physical. intimacy means this and this and this. And I want to explore all of them with you. What? You getting the draws that night. I just gave you gold. I just gave you gold, bruh. Straight up, like that. What you mean?
Put her on.
What you mean?
So I will say, right, gentleness is powerful.
Splash.
Like having
Splash.
having the ability to be gentle, like, is hugely important, right? And you can be direct and be gentle,
Right.
right? Like, and that is a learned skill, right? I think because what happens is you start playing the offense turns into like the little badminton thing. What is it called? Like the little thing you're actually hitting around
The birdie?
with badminton, but the birdie, right? And so now you all are batting back and forth this notion of offense because you offended because she offended, and
Right.
instead of as opposed to offering that clarification, responding with gentleness, because we have been conditioned to be adversarial as opposed to collaborative, right? Now what we're doing is seeing who's going to win this conversation. Right? Like, now I got to win this conversation because I need you, because I got to prove that women are the problem, or I got to prove that men are the problem. And what we really can and should be doing is saying, how do we find the happy medium so that I can get to the middle? You hear me? And when you are able to be gentle, right? When you are able to say, I'm sorry, I feel like the way that landed wasn't the way I intended. Here's what I'm thinking about. When I talk about intimacy, these are the things that I think about. And I'm just trying to understand what that might look like for you. And there's a really good chance she's never even had that conversation. She may not actually know the answer. The fact that you asked it that way at all, at this point, she didn't kick the drawers over to you under the table.
Hello.
Right? It's
Hello.
already happened.
Won't be needing these.
It's already happened. Like the you can lead get the check. Check, please, right? Because what you have done in that moment, that is an intimate moment, right? The ability to be gentle in response to a thing that you did not expect, right? An answer that's different than the one that you felt like you would get. Because you came here with a game plan and then you got punched in the mouth, right? And you got a choice on whether or not you're going to punch back or you're going to respond with love and gentleness.
You gonna catch it.
Care, because many women are not accustomed to having gentleness be the response. And so when you redirect that energy in a way that is different than they expect, that creates the intimacy, right? And now she is thinking about all of this the entire time y'all together. And she's thinking about how different it is to be in your presence. And she's thinking about how safe it is for her to make mistakes, because women want to be able to make mistakes and be corrected gently. You can do that.
Listen. I 100% agree with all that, and I'll simply put it this way for me. It's kind of like, you know how we have like people got that Jiminy Cricket, or they got that little angel on the shoulder. I have a little twin that sits on my shoulders when I ask certain questions, and the moment that I'm getting ready to respond, she whispers in my ears and goes, "Don't embarrass me, twin."
Hold on, player. Not like that, player. Not like that.
What was you planning on saying back? Oh, no.
But it creates that pause to give that gentleness, to give that response that says, this is not going to go my way. I can either choose to be right or I can get what I want. And I'm not just saying that I want the draws necessarily, but I'm just saying that I can choose that I want this relationship to grow and do more. Yeah. But if I just go and tell her, listen, I understood what you said, and I don't agree with it, and I can go with that aggression, and that's going to get me nowhere. But to your point, that gentleness of, that's interesting that you bring up that in that perspective. That's kind of not where I was landing with it. Let me share you a little bit about like what I was thinking and going through that mode, go through that motion, going through that conversation that people need to have that they don't have.
Bring Smooth back, dog. Bring Smooth back. Bring Smooth back.
It's been lacking. It's been lacking for a lot of these folks out here.
I love that. And I think that even that, I mean, that goes into intentionally building that intimacy, creating those moments, taking the opportunity to be gentle, right? And tender rather than to be aggressive or on, the opposite end. And it goes a long way because to Dangerous's point, what? I remember I had a conversation about intimacy before. I was talking to this dude and he was real cool. We were talking, blah, blah, blah. And he said something to your point. It was almost like what you said, twin. Something about being, and I was like, the fuck you? What are you asking me that for? Like, we're at Applebee's, bro. Like, what are you, what? Okay.
You fucking up the 2 for $20 is
you feel me? Like, what? So, but that was his answer. Well, intimacy isn't just that, right? It's this, and I mean that's what made me be like, huh, you're kind of smart. Okay, there's something deeper there, right? But I think whenever you have men that have the ability, no, not a full gender war, but just to make sure that it's out there somewhere in some corner of the internet. When you have men that are able to create those moments or to seize those opportunities to create those moments, whenever girls say like in my feminine energy, those are the things that result in her being in her feminine energy. I don't think that you can put someone in their energy and this, that, and put me in all that stuff. Like, I'm not here for the like internet debate, right? But I do think that those things go towards building, go towards building that intimacy and cultivating just that sort of special closeness that a lot of times doesn't appear in the world. And that's what makes you stand out.
You might not be able to put that femininity into someone, but you can definitely enhance their desire to share it with you.
For sure.
100% more than they were going to give it to you. Because when you was out here sounding like every last other guy that I've ever talked to, guess what? You're going to get that same result that you always got. But when you want to be somebody different and you want to really get that energy going, you're going to start thinking differently. You're going to start saying things differently. You're going to bring Smooth back.
You get the second voice because every woman got two voices, dog. Every woman got two voices.
The soft one.
Y'all
You're
got a second voice, right?
The soft one.
And you hear it when a man has hit the emotional spot where you like, oh shit, he's serious business. I can't talk to him the way that I engage with the rest of the world because it is safe for me to be the princess here. It's safe for me to look at this man with awe and say, I want to follow what he is like. I'm with it, right? He can take my hand and pull me wherever he want me to go because he's demonstrated through action, through choice, through word, through deed that what he has in mind is my best interest.
Yeah.
And if a woman believes you got her best interest in heart, she will give you that second voice without you even asking for it. And all you gotta do is talk to her in front of people that know her, and they ain't gonna be like, bitch, what's wrong? Who is you talking to like that? Like, what is this voice you using, girl? Like, if you've never heard your girl talk to you in front of people that know her and heard them in the background, like, why are you putting that voice on? You're not doing it right. Because if she don't give you that voice, you have done something wrong. But that's also intimacy manifested, right? Because you got different places you can leave from. You can leave from the front, you can leave from the middle, and you can leave from the back. And when a woman trusts you to leave from all of those places,
Sassy, right? Stop it.
Please, like, y'all is 7 years old.
Yeah.
Can't help it. She's over here talking about.
Because she wants you.
Can you leave from the back?
Please believe it. Please believe it. I said what I said and I meant it. And Sassy knows.
We are talking about
picking up what I'm putting down because she'll put it down anyway. But when a woman trusts you to lead from all of the necessary spots, right? Like that, like the intimacy manifests itself in ways you don't expect. Yeah. And some of it is just about how you even talk to a person. Like when you have built a level of intimacy in a partnership as a man, you don't even have I don't have to raise my voice. For what?
At all.
Like what I need to raise my voice for. You don't need to raise yours either, because if I do something that doesn't feel good to you, you can come to me and say, hey, that didn't feel good and we need to talk about it, and we can have a conversation without ever raising our voice. We can disagree on a thing. We can find conflict between us and navigate that conflict without ever having to change the tone and the level of our voices. And that's powerful, right? When you can have that kind of relationship with a person where you have built a space where that kind of you've built that kind of intimacy, right? That kind of closeness, right? Where you can really deal with the things that are challenging with a person without escalating the tension, right?
Yeah.
Or you can
Ooh.
unwind the tension without irreparably harming the relationship. When a woman can say to you, I deal with you differently than any man I've ever dealt with before, because you've unlocked a new level, you've
Ooh-wee.
unlocked the most intimate version of her, right? Where she doesn't even feel obligated to be that woman anymore. She don't want to be her no more.
Yeah.
Because you have unlocked that and you've created that space, right? I
Yeah.
don't know how we got here exactly, but it feels like.
But I'm glad we got here because all this is a good conversation and
free game.
and
I'm telling y'all, next time I'm gonna make y'all pay.
listen and all around this is always a two-way street. Outside of just
Absolutely.
what we are doing on our end for creating this level of intimacy, women can do the same. And women, like a lot of the women that are around me that I know of, they are great at that understanding because they know what they want. And I think that's the part that matters. When you know what you want, you're going to do the things that are necessary to get that. When you don't know, you just out here just kind of guessing, you're going to get what you get.
Fraud. Because I'm like, that's what I feel like it is. It's like a recap of the episodes we done had. You show up to the table where, your only mindset is like physical intimacy, and that's the type of wave you on. I'm thinking fraud. Move on to the next.
Yeah.
But then sometimes you will have those teachable moments to where you're like, okay, well, here's a moment to where I can share with you and educate you on what it is, what it looks like to me. You know what I mean? Because I think that's the thing. That's why I said, just to circle it back, like people will be in relationships or situationships to where they only see a glimpse of what that intimacy is to them. And for them, it could just be physical. You know what I mean? That's all is kissing and hugging and doing all of these other things. But you'd be like, okay, well, that's where she failed you. Because I'm like, you ain't learning about these other attributes, about that mutual, having a mutual understanding, having shared experience. I'm like, that's also intimacy. So it's like on those, journeys that you're having with, your partner or somebody that you're dating. I'm like, that could be the learning experience that you need to level your mindset up.
I think it's also true that women can unlock a different version of a man too.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Like if you can show up in a way that makes a man feel empowered, right, and trusted, and you understand what it looks like to be supportive, like to be structurally supportive without being obstruction, right, without being obstructive, right, in terms of allowing that man to lead. Like, how do you prop a man up, right? Like, how do you prop a man? Do you know how to be a man's spine? Because sometimes we need that. Sometimes we need a woman to show up as our backbone and be able to say, yes, you can make this choice, and whatever comes with this, we gonna deal with it. I trust you, right? I trust that the direction that we are going, even if we have some issues along the way, we gonna get through whatever this is together, and I support you. I can gently correct, I can offer insight, I can be your second set of eyes. Right? I can help you reality test what you're gonna do. I can help you think through scenarios. I'm never gonna tell you what to not do, but I can also help you understand, hey, look, did you think about this? Did you consider this? Right? Okay, while you out doing this, I'm gonna do this part so that this burden isn't all yours to carry. Right? And fully empower that man to be the best version of himself without being in the way of that, without feeling obligated to to step in and do the thing differently. Like, if that's how you want to show up, then partnership probably isn't for you.
And I'm so glad that you said that, because that is the key thing here. When you're being this intentional with creating a safe space, with creating intimacy, with cultivating connection, you are no longer in a relationship. You are now in a partnership. You are now equally contributing to each other's well-being. And that trust, that closeness, that's how you keep and protect that intimacy. And that's where, when we see those couples and it's like, y'all been married 50 years? Like, yes, because they were able to do that with each other. They were able to not judge each other by their lowest moments, and they were able to continue fighting through to their best moments and enjoying them every step of the way. Well, not every step of the way, but remembering the importance of keeping that connection every step of the way. And
Hashtag L said it.
come on, what? We didn't even get to that part yet. Hold on. But yes, because it's so. I think I'm agreeing with my twin here. It is the cornerstone. It is.
Hey,
I got-
you got it.
Twin
You got
said
it.
it.
Y'all. We did it, y'all. We did it, y'all. There we go. No time for the sheep seats, y'all. We did it.
Y'all, that was such a good conversation. That was such a good conversation. I thoroughly enjoy when we have just like those the full circle conversations where it's like we start here and then we go through each step and then end up back and where I just love that. And I feel like this is one of those conversations that gave us that. So thank you so much. I would love for you all to, if you have any last thoughts about the topic, to share them with us and then to go ahead and do your outros. Please let the people know who you are, where they can find you, and how they can best support you.
I am the new dangerous. I am LD Drug's second favorite DJ. You can catch me whenever I decide I'm gonna actually turn this camera on again. Every Tuesday and Thursday doing Cruise Control, my live mix show, and you can catch me most definitely every Monday with the illustrious, the magnanimous, the incomparable, the indefatigable Dr. Nikki 24/7 for Thumb on the Scale, where we are teaching, testing, and training folks to think differently about the world and think differently about their experience in it, man. So, Clubhouse thought just on the subject of intimacy. Intimacy is sacred, and you should treat it as such.
Love that. The new dangerous, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. The Blue Professor.
Go make me go after something like that.
I know.
I hate you, bro.
Y'all know to let him do them last.
Matter of fact, you know what? Next time I'm going to be introduced, I'm going to call you, brother, because you do a great job with all the words. You do the thing.
Hey, man, I paid a lot of money for my ability to use words. I'll send you a bill.
I got 5 on it. All right, y'all. It's your boy, the Blue Professor, your favorite Sigma on all social media. You can catch me here, there, and everywhere. You'll catch me in, here on Tuesdays every single week, whether I'm up here in the box or I'm down in the comments. Always going to be here for my 20. Also, you can start catching me, hopefully, going live in the next couple of days while I'm out in Vegas. I should be out there doing some live food content. We'll see how that goes. Final thoughts. Start how you want to finish in every relationship that you go into. Don't start something that you don't plan on continuing to do. And that's the best way to keep your intimacy going with someone, and you will lose it very quickly when you decide to make that decision to stop doing it.
Love it. I love it. I love it. And of course, Miss Sassy Red.
For sure. This your girl, Miss Sassy Red, the soup cooler kind of stuff. Okay. Of course, know and understand you can catch me here. But if you want a double dose of me, you can also check me out Friday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on TikTok during the weekly fix with this girl here, as well as myself. Come check us out. We got a lot to talk about.
Period. Big shout out to this week's Boss Babe panel. They are the shiz naive, and we love them. All right, you guys, it's time for Elle Said It. This is the part of the show where I give you my key takeaways and highlighted moments from the shows, from the conversation. So, I love this week. I love this conversation. I think it's important. I think there's even more that we can dive into. But the things that I want you all to remember about this conversation is intimacy isn't about knowing someone's favorite color or how they take their coffee. It's about knowing what makes them feel safe, right? That's the key word, is feeling that safety. What they're afraid to say out loud, what brings them peace, and choosing over and over and over again to handle their heart with care. Love may bring two people together, and it's a wonderful thing and we love it, but intimacy is what keeps them connected. It's built in little moments, the conversations after midnight, the check-ins during a busy day, the apologies that come without excuses, and the willingness to keep learning the person you think you already know. The strongest relationships aren't built by people who never drift. They're built by people who notice the distance and intentionally find their way back to each other. This episode's affirmation is my ability to foster connection and build safety for myself and others is a superpower, and I use it purposefully and intentionally. And when they ask you,
Told you that.
tell them, Elle said it. All right. Tonight's episode was brought to you by Drug Radio. A big shout out and thank you to the Boss Bae panel, Miss Sassy Red, the Blue Professor, and the New Dangerous. Also, a big shout out to our DJ Rich Beats, Barry, our admin and talent producer, and King Lito, our audio and visual coordinator. And thank you for tuning in to another episode of Modern Day Bae, especially if you pulled up during the live recording. Big shout out to the chat. All right. Make sure you guys tap in every Tuesday and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Drug Radio live on TikTok. My name is Elle the Drug, and remember, you deserve to live well. We'll see you next time.